Hey everyone, in this video, we'll uncover the most valuable Abraham Lincoln wheat penny you should be on the lookout for. We'll break down what makes these Lincoln wheat pennies so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. First up, in today's video, we are going to talk about one of the early wheat pennies, the 1916 Abraham Lincoln cent without a mint mark. This coin was struck in Philadelphia, and while at first glance it may not look like anything rare or especially valuable, it has an important place in the long history of American coinage. Many people find these old copper cents in change jars, old collections, or inherited boxes of coins. Often they are in rough or dirty condition, which is exactly the case we are discussing today. Even when dirty or well-worn, this cent can still carry some collector value, and in very high-grade examples, it can be worth a great deal of money. The 1916 Lincoln wheat penny was produced in very large numbers, with over 130 million struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Because there is no mint mark under the date, we know it was made in Philadelphia. This makes it a relatively common date compared to some of the scarcer branch mint issues, but collectors still want them to complete their sets. The design is the familiar Abraham Lincoln portrait on the front, created by Victor David Brenner, with the words "In God We Trust" above, Liberty on the left, and the date 1916 on the right. On the back, you will find the two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum at the top. It is one of the most recognized and beloved coin designs in U.S. history. When you hear the term large date used with this coin, it is not really a special variety for 1916. Some sellers use the phrase large date to describe the standard style of numbers in the date, but unlike the 1909 VDB or the 1910 small date issues, there is no separate variety here. What most owners have is simply the normal Philadelphia issue. The key factor for value is always condition, and for a coin described as dirty, we are almost always talking about something that has been heavily circulated and may show a lot of wear, dark toning, or even soil and grime on the surface. Collectors grade coins on a scale that starts at good and goes all the way up to mint state. In good condition, most of the details in Lincoln's hair are completely flat, and the word Liberty may be weak. In fine condition, you can still see some separation in the hair and beard. By the time you reach extremely fine, Lincoln's features are sharper. His coat lines are visible, and the wheat stalks on the reverse show good detail. Dirty or circulated 1916 cents usually fall somewhere between good and fine, and that is what most people will have if they find one in an old jar or pocket change. In those grades, the coin's value is modest, generally under $2. Current market guides show that a 1916 penny without a mint mark in good condition is usually worth around 20 cents to $1. In fine condition, it can bring one to $2. Extremely fine examples reach up to $6. The real jumps occur when you find coins that are uncirculated with no wear and full original luster. Basic mint state pieces can start at $15 or more, while choice red uncirculated coins climb far higher. The record prices prove how desirable top-quality pieces are. In fact, in January of 2025, a superb PCGS graded MS68 red 1916 penny sold for $36,000 at auction. That shows how enormous the gap can be between a dirty circulated tours. A dirty circulated 1916 Philadelphia penny is usually just a small collectible worth around 50 cents to $2. Still, it is a fun coin to own because it is more than 100 years old, and it represents the early years of the Lincoln cent series. Many people mistakenly believe they should clean these coins to make them look brighter, but that is actually harmful. Cleaning removes the natural surfaces, leaves, scratches, or unnatural shine, and can cut the value dramatically. Collectors always prefer an original coin, even if it looks dull, dark, or dirty. That natural look tells the story of the coin's journey through circulation. Sometimes coins that appear dirty are actually suffering from environmental damage. If a cent has been buried or exposed to moisture, it can develop green corrosion or rough texture. This usually lowers the value to the bottom end of the scale. Scratches, dents, and cleaning marks also reduce the coin's appeal. On the other hand, if the dirt is just surface grime and the details are still sharp underneath, the coin may grade higher than you think. Next up in today's video, we are going to take a close look at another coin from the Wheat Penny series. The 1937 Abraham Lincoln cent with the D Mint mark. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint and is part of the long-running Lincoln Wheat cent design that was first introduced in 1909. The design is one of the most familiar in United States coinage history, showing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the two wheat ears on the back. Even though it is a common coin and many millions were produced, collectors still value these early wheat cents. Today, I will explain how to recognize the 1937D penny, what it means when the coin is in good condition with scratches, and what its actual value is in today's market. The Lincoln cent was first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and quickly became a popular coin with the public. Victor David Brenner designed the portrait, which has remained on the cent ever since, making it the longest-running design in American coinage. The reverse, with the two wheat stalks, was used from 1909 until 1958, after which the Lincoln Memorial reverse was introduced. So when you look at a 1937D cent, you are seeing a coin that belongs to the classic wheat penny era. The 1937D penny has a mintage of more than 50 million coins, specifically around 50,430,000 struck at the Denver Mint. That number makes it a fairly common date compared to some other earlier wheat pennies. Because so many were produced, and because copper cents were used daily by millions of people during the Great Depression years, most surviving examples are well worn today. Collectors often find them in circulated condition, and good condition is actually quite typical. A coin in good condition shows a very worn portrait of Lincoln, with much of the hair and facial details flattened. The lettering is still visible, but may be faint, and the wheat stalks on the back are smooth with little detail. The scratches mentioned for this coin are another factor that affects value. Scratches, even small ones, are considered damage and reduce the price collectors are willing to pay. When we talk about condition in coin collecting, we are really talking about grade. Good is one of the lower grades on the scale, just above poor and fair. In good condition, a coin is worn flat, but still identifiable with its major design details and the date fully readable. For a 1937D penny in good condition, the normal retail value today is quite modest, usually between 5 cents and 50 cents. Most price guides show that a good condition 1937D trades in that low range because the supply is abundant and collectors prefer higher grade examples when they can find them. The scratches you mention on the coin would likely place it toward the very low end of that value range, closer to just a few cents. As the grade improves, the value of this date also improves. A 1937D in fine condition, where some hair detail is visible and the wheat stalks show partial lines, might be worth around 50 cents to $1. In extremely fine condition, values can climb to about $2 or $3. In uncirculated mint state, the coin starts to be more desirable. A brown, uncirculated 1937D might bring $10 to $15, while a fully red gem with strong luster can be worth well over $100. The highest quality certified pieces with a full red color and very high mint state grade can even reach into the several hundreds at auction. That is the difference condition makes. But for the coin we are discussing, good condition with scratches, the realistic value is very low. And it is mainly worth something as a filler in a collection or as part of a bulk lot of wheat cents. One important reminder for anyone who has a wheat penny in dirty or scratched condition is never to try to clean or polish it. Cleaning will not hide scratches, and in most cases, it only makes them look worse. Collectors can immediately recognize a cleaned coin, and once cleaned it usually loses most of its collector premium. It is always best to leave the coin in the original state it was found, even if it appears dull or unattractive to the naked. Original surfaces, even when worn, are preferred in the hobby. So what can you do with a 1937D penny in this grade? If you are a collector, you may simply keep it as a placeholder in an album until you find a nicer example. If you are not a collector and you just want to sell it, you can expect that coin dealers will only pay a few cents for it, especially with scratches. On online marketplaces, individual worn wheat cents sometimes sell for around 25 cents. Next up, the 1917 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. This coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint more than 100 years ago. And even though it may look worn, dirty, and scratched today, it still has a story to tell. Collectors continue to pay attention to these early wheat pennies because they belong to the first decade of the Lincoln cent series, which started in 1909. The 1917 penny is part of that early group. While it is not especially rare, it is a coin many collectors want to add to their albums. Let's talk about how to recognize it, what the condition means, and what its value is in today's market. The Lincoln wheat cent was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent, and the new design was created by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features a right-facing portrait of Lincoln with the word Liberty on the left, the motto "In God We Trust" above, and the date on the right. On the reverse, you see the denomination 1 cent and the words United States of America framed by 2 wheat ears, with the motto E pluribus unum at the top. That reverse is the reason collectors call these coins wheat pennies. The design was used until 1958, making the wheat penny one of the most familiar coins in circulation for half a century. When you look at a 1917 penny, the absence of a mint mark under the date means it was struck in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Mint was the main producer of cents and turned out more than 96 million of these coins in 1917. That large number means the coin is not scarce in circulated grades, though it becomes much harder to find in higher uncirculated condition. Because of the heavy circulation these pennies experienced, most survivors are in the lower grades, and a coin described as dirty with scratches would fall into that common circulated group. Collectors use a grading scale to measure condition, and the term good condition means the coin is heavily worn. On a good 1917 cent, most of Lincoln's hair details are gone. The ear is flat, and the lettering is weak but readable. The wheat stalks on the back are worn smooth. If the coin is also dirty, meaning it has surface grime or dark toning, that does not help value. Scratches further reduce collector interest because damage is always seen as a negative. So when you combine good condition with dirt and scratches, you are talking about an example that sits at the bottom of the value range. In today's market, a 1917 Philadelphia wheat penny in good condition usually sells for around 20 cents to 50 cents. Price guides generally place this date in that range for the lowest grades since so many examples exist. If the coin were in fine condition, showing a bit more hair detail and stronger lettering, the value could reach around $1 to $2. In extremely fine condition, with clearer detail on Lincoln's coat and hair and stronger wheat lines, on the back, values go up to $5 or $6. Once you reach the uncirculated grades, the price climbs much higher. A brown, uncirculated 1917 cent might bring $15 to $20. while red mint state coins with strong luster can bring well over $100. In top gem red condition, these coins have been known to sell for thousands at major auctions. That is the dramatic spread in value based on condition. But for a dirty circulated piece with scratches, the value stays modest, usually under $1. It is important to remember that cleaning a coin will not improve its value. Many people think that if a coin looks dirty, polishing it will make it more attractive, but collectors strongly prefer original surfaces. Cleaning leaves marks, removes patina, and can make the coin look unnatural. Once cleaned, it is often worth less than before. The best choice is to leave it in its original state, even if it looks dull or discolored. Scratches are permanent and cannot be fixed, so it is better to accept them as part of the coin's history. If you want to sell a 1917 penny in this condition, you should have realistic expectations. Coin shops may only pay a few cents for it, especially with damage. On online marketplaces, individual low-grade 1917 cents sometimes sell for 20 to 50 cents. But often, they are included in bulk lots of wheat pennies where the per-coin price is low. Collectors are usually looking for higher-grade pieces, so heavily worn and scratched examples are mostly valued as space fillers for albums or as part of group sales. Still, there is some interest in early dates like 1917 compared to later wheat cents from the 1940s and 1950s, which are extremely common. Even though the individual value of a scratched and dirty 1917 penny is small, it still holds appeal as a coin that has survived more than a century. It was struck during the time of World War I, when the United States had just entered the conflict in Europe. Millions of these pennies were used by everyday Americans to buy goods during a period of major historical change. Next up in this video, we are going to talk about another coin from the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, the 1952 Abraham Lincoln cent with the D Mint mark. This coin was produced at the Denver Mint and, like many wheat pennies from the 1950s, it is a very common coin in circulated grades. Even though it may not be rare or especially valuable, people still hold on to these coins because they are more than 70 years old now, and they belong to the beloved wheat cent design that so many collectors enjoy. Today, I will explain what the 1952D penny is, what it means when the coin is described as damaged with scratches, and how much it is realistically worth in today's market. The Lincoln Wheat Cent series began in 1909. To mark the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first regular U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real historical person, and the design by Victor David Brenner became iconic. On the front, we see Lincoln facing right with the motto, "In God We Trust," above his head, liberty on the left, and the date with mint mark on the right. On the reverse, we see the denomination 1 cent and the words United States of America framed by 2 wheat stalks, with the motto E Pluribus Unum at the top. The reverse design lasted until 1958, so the 1952D penny is one of the later wheat cents before the switch to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. The 1952D penny was produced in very large numbers, with more than 746 million struck at the Denver Mint. That enormous mintage makes it a common coin, and many examples still survive today in all grades. Because of this, only the nicest mint state examples are really desirable to collectors, while heavily worn or damaged coins are very inexpensive. If your coin is described as being in damaged condition with scratches, that means it falls into the lower end of the value scale. Scratches are considered a form of damage because they alter the original surface and reduce eye appeal. Collectors generally avoid scratched coins unless they are extremely rare dates, which the 1952D is not. So how does condition affect the value? A normal 1952D penny in good or very good condition, with honest wear but no major problems, usually sells for around 5 to 10 cents. In fine condition, it might bring around 20 cents. In extremely fine, around 50 cents. And, in about uncirculated condition, maybe $1. Once you reach uncirculated mint state, values start at around $2 to $3 for a brown coin and can rise to $20 or more for a bright red gem with strong luster. Certified high-grade red. Examples can sell for much more, even into the hundreds, but those are the top-tier pieces sought by advanced collectors. For a damaged coin with scratches, the value is usually only face value or just a few cents above it. Since collectors do not want coins with obvious surface problems, it is important to understand that scratches and other damage, like corrosion or bending, push a coin into what dealers call cull condition. Cull coins are usually only worth their copper content or just a small premium as bulk wheat cents. The 1952D is not rare enough to overcome that kind of damage. So in today's market, a scratched or otherwise damaged example would typically sell for around 2 to 5 cents if included in a group, or possibly 10 cents if someone buys it individually just to fill a spot in their album, compared to the big numbers we sometimes see with early rare wheat cents. This may sound disappointing, but it is realistic given the huge supply of this date. A lot of people who find a damaged wheat penny wonder if they should clean it to make it look better. The truth is that cleaning a coin almost always makes the situation worse. Cleaning removes the natural surface and leaves hairlines that reduce value even more. Collectors prefer an original, dirty, or dark surface over a shiny, cleaned one. If your 1952D already has scratches, cleaning will not fix them. It will just add more marks. The best approach is to leave the coin as it is and either keep it as part of your collection or sell it with other wheat pennies as a lot, even though the monetary value is low. The 1952D penny still carries historical interest. It was struck in the post-war years, a time when America was growing and changing quickly. Next up, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a D Mint mark. Struck at the Denver Mint. This coin is especially interesting because 1958 was the very last year the wheat design was used on U.S. cents. The following year, in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was introduced, which means the 1958D penny is part of the final chapter of the wheat cent series that had been in production since 1909, even though it is a very common date. And even though the coin we are talking about today has some scratches, it still has value both as a collectible and as a piece of history. The design is one that every collector knows well. On the obverse, we have Abraham Lincoln facing right, the motto "In God We Trust" at the top, Liberty on the left, and the date 1958 with the small letter D just below it on the right side, showing that this coin was made in Denver. The reverse features the classic 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America with E pluribus unum at the top. This design had been used for nearly 50 years by the time the 1958D penny was struck, and millions of Americans were familiar with it. The Denver Mint struck an enormous number of these coins in 1958, more than 800 million pieces. That massive production makes the 1958D one of the most common wheat pennies of all. They are found everywhere in old change jars, inherited collections, and rolls of wheat cents. Because of that high supply, only the best quality examples are sought after by collectors, while circulated pieces, especially those with scratches or other damage, are not worth very much. Still, condition matters, and a coin in very fine grade is better than the average worn penny. So what does very fine mean for a wheat penny in very fine condition? A coin has some moderate wear, but still retains clear detail. On the 1958D, Lincoln's hair shows some separation. The ear and jawline are visible, and the lettering is sharp. On the reverse, the wheat stalks show some clear lines in the grains, though not all of them are crisp. Very fine is a mid-level circulated grade, better than good or fine, but not as sharp as extremely fine or uncirculated. If the coin also has scratches, that is a downside. Scratches are considered damage, and even if the coin grades as very fine, based on wear, those scratches reduce its value because they affect eye appeal and originality. In today's market, a normal 1958D penny in very fine condition without damage is worth around 10 to 20 cents. Because the coin is so common, even higher circulated grades do not bring a huge premium. Extremely fine examples might be worth 20 to 50 cents, and about uncirculated pieces can sell for around $1. Once you move into uncirculated mint state, values improve. A typical brown uncirculated 1958D might be worth $1. Or two, a red-brown example perhaps $3 to $5. And a bright red gem with full luster can sell for $10 to $20. In the highest certified grades, fully red examples can reach into the hundreds, but those are the absolute best of the best. For a coin in very fine with scratches, the value is realistically toward the bottom end, closer to 10 cents or even less if the scratches are heavy, because of the large mintage and the availability of nice examples. Collectors tend to avoid scratched coins from this date. Damage always reduces demand unless the coin is a key rarity, and the 1958D is far from rare. So while it still has interest as a historical piece, its market value is modest. If you were to sell it to a dealer, they would likely pay only a few cents, treating it as a common wheat cent in bulk condition. On online marketplaces, individual very fine examples may sell for around 20 cents. But with scratches, most buyers would consider it only a filler coin and offer much less. It is also important to remember that cleaning the coin is not a good idea. A scratched wheat penny cannot be improved by polishing or wiping. In fact, cleaning usually adds more small scratches and removes the natural patina that collectors prefer. It is always better to leave the coin in its original condition, even if it looks dull or dirty. Scratches and wear are part of the story of the coin, and though they reduce value, they show that the penny was used by real people in everyday transactions more than 60 years ago. The historical context of the 1958D penny is interesting. As well, it was struck during the late 1950s, a time of economic growth and social change in America. People were buying cars, homes, and televisions, and children were spending pennies on candy and soda. The wheat design had been in circulation for decades, and by 1958, it was almost a nostalgic coin. The decision to change the design to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959 reflected a new era in U.S. coinage. So, the 1958D represents the last link to that long history of the wheat reverse. To sum it all up, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the D mint mark is one of the most common dates of the entire series. In very fine condition without problems, it is worth about 10 to 20 cents in today's market.